Welcome back, my fellow patriots, to the Save Our Republic Daily video series. We're going to take a detour from the Constitution today, at least directly, and talk about Shakespeare. He wrote a fabulous play called Julius Caesar based on the events of the Roman Republic and Empire. I'm going to quote you a little bit of Julius Caesar by Shakespeare, and some of these I suspect you may have heard of. Beware the Ides of March. I'm cutting this on the Ides of March, which is March 15th, which is the day that Julius Caesar, who was the greatest general in Roman history, was assassinated by senators, including some of his very close friends, because they were afraid that he was going to become an emperor. In other words, someone that would take dictatorial power for a life. Sometimes there was dictatorial power for a limited period, and a general go out and use that power to win a battle, and then, or maybe even a war or campaign, but then relinquish it and back to the Republic so that the Senate could control. But there was great fear that instead Caesar was going to take power for himself and maintain an empire. So he was assassinated. And I'll circle back to that in just a minute when we get through some more of the quotes. Here's another one from, so beware the Ides of March was from a soothsayer. Here's another one from Cassius, who was one of the assassins. Men at some times are masters of their fates. The thought, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves, that we are underlings. From Caesar, yond Cassius has a lean and hungry look. He thinks too much. Such men are dangerous. Casca, but for mine own part, it was Greek to me. Brutus. Brutus is the leader, or one of the co-leaders of the conspiracy, a senator, a friend of Julius Caesar's, who puts in the knife at the beginning. Let's carve him as a dish fit for the gods. Calphormium. When beggars die, there are no comets seen. The heavens themselves blaze forth the death of princes. Caesar. Cowards die many times before their deaths. The valiant never taste of death but once. Caesar. Et tu, Brute? Then fa, Caesar. Et tu means and you. Brute is Brutus. Anthony, Mark Antony, an ally of Julius Caesar, who is kind of on the brink of, should he go with the assassin? Should he go try to defend the honor of Caesar and move forward in a way to undermine those that killed Caesar? And he decides eventually to go after the conspirators. And he says, cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. Brutus, not that I loved Caesar less, but that I loved Rome more. Anthony, Mark Antony, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. Anthony, this was the most unkindest cut of all. Brutus, there is a tide in the affairs of men. So you might say, okay, this is the Save Our Republic Daily video series focused on America. Why am I talking about the Ides of March other than the fact that we're cutting this video on the Ides of March? Well, first, it's fun. But secondly, because there was a time when men would move forward and put their lives at risk to kill who they believe would be tyrants. And I may be in a historical minority on this, although I don't think so. It was pretty evident that Caesar was moving towards an empire that he was going to try to consolidate, and had already made substantial progress to consolidating dictatorial control for life in connection with the Roman Republic. And those that banded together to assassinate him were doing so for liberty and freedom, to protect the Republic as they knew it. And although they get a bad rap in connection with history because they assassinated him on the floor of the Senate in a betrayal and dramatic way, there is something to be said that you need to be able to fight, literally, for liberty and freedom. Remember, the American Revolution, we said in our Declaration of Independence that when a long train of abuse and usurpations evincing the fact that there is going to be oppression and that you can't get out of it. You've tried, you petitioned, and it doesn't matter. It appears that there's going to be a tyranny, that the people have the right to revolution. Now, what's interesting about Julius Caesar was that it was led by senators, and that they were trying to rally the people behind them to stop the overthrow of the empire, the republic for an empire. Ultimately, they failed. There was a civil war, and Caesar's nephew, Augustus, became the first emperor. But it is an interesting lesson that we don't ever want to get to that position where we have to fight literally for our freedoms and liberties. Instead, we want to be able to cut these things off and do it in a peaceful way, to reform the republic through constitutional amendments, through elections, through writings, by persuasion, whatever it is, so that we never have to face that terrible dilemma. Until next time, don't forget about America's Survival Guide, how to stop America's impending suicide by reclaiming our founding first principles in history at americasurvivalguide.com, Patriot Week at patriotweek.org, and the Patriot Lessons American History and Civics podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, etc. And God bless you, and God bless America.